Bitcoin right now is doing something so big, so shocking, that once you fully understand the gravity of exactly where we are right now, you will literally be shaking and crying. But what if I told you that what's about to happen isn't big? In fact, it's not even mega big. It's extremely, ultra, giga big. Bitcoin right now is doing something that, dare I say, is far and away, by far, the single biggest, most exciting thing that happens every 4 years in a Bitcoin cycle. And what I'm about to show you in this video will not just shock you, it will leave you absolutely devastated. So if you like getting pumped on, dumped on, and making an absolutely bananas amount of money, hit that like, hit that subscribe, get signed up to FEMEX or BINGX below if you want to buy Bitcoin or altcoins. And without any further ado, let's absolutely jump in to Bitcoin right now, which at this very second is doing quite literally the biggest thing of a 4-year Bitcoin cycle. It is quite literally the prelude to the most vertical part of a Bitcoin cycle. A lot of people consider this like this area right here, the end of the bull market, right? And it basically was because Bitcoin put in an eensy-weensy little bit higher all-time high. This was the high here, and then it went and squeaked out another couple $1,000s, and then it entered a bear market, right? But truly, the most exhilarating, most absolutely bananas, balls to the wall, banana mode part of the Bitcoin bull market, of Bitcoin specifically, because a lot of beautiful action actually happened in this range for altcoins, but this is the Bitcoin chart. For Bitcoin specifically, this right here is complete banana mode. And this is exactly the banana mode that I think we are about to enter. And one of the first things I want to take a look at is this chart. And this has literally happened quite literally every time Bitcoin has done this. We go all the way back to 2017. Right? We talked about this a little bit yesterday. We see this top that was set at the end of 2017, and 3 years later, it took us a couple of weekly candles to ultimately bust above this and put in the biggest gains for Bitcoin of the cycle, right? 20,000 to 65,000, a massive, over 200% gainers right there. And yes, that also happened actually, if we go back to 2013. We have this top that was set in 2013. And then 4 years later, at the beginning of 2017, end of 2013, beginning of 2017, just like clockwork, we came up, we got rejected, and then ultimately the biggest busting started immediately after that initial rejection at the previous all-time high. What do you notice every time? We always have an initial rejection before we absolutely start exploding. And right now as well, on this chart, Bitcoin's all-time high back in November 2021. We've already set a new all-time high this time, which is unlike any other cycle. Some people would actually say Bitcoin's a little bit bustier, a little bit pumpier than any time in history. And I will share my opinion. Yeah, you bet your butt I believe Bitcoin's about to bust bigger, pump harder, stronger, faster, and biglier than we've ever seen. And that's partially due to our boy Larry Fink of BlackRock. We have Fidelity. We have 7 other Bitcoin spot ETFs gobbling up Bitcoin like a homeless man gobbles up, chicken nuggets or something. This is absolutely insane. This is complete bonkers, banana mode. And we have, we've breached the all-time high for the first time ever, but then we got this 2-week rejection. This week, this brand new week, maybe next week, are we about to start completely giga-sploding, right? Are we about to absolutely erupt like we've never erupted times infinity? Maybe not that big, but definitely pretty big. And honestly, you look at these charts, the similarities are insane. In this same range here, let me actually, put this on, in the same range, exact same situation. It happened in the 2016, 2017 bust, right after we broke that all-time high, straight up. It happened, the last bull market. 2017 to 2021, straight up. Are we about to see that same thing right now? My answer, what I think is going to happen, is I think we are about to see that. Whether it's 5 minutes from now, whether it's next week, I personally think whenever it happens, it's going to be very fast, and I think it's going to be, well, again, I do think it is maximum pain. I think the path to maximum pain is still to completely gigabang the sideliners and to gigabang the bears, because the bears and the sidelined people have there's still a lot of them. I'm just shocked. And I've said the reason that I believe that before. I believe the reason is because 2021 was honestly, we got pretty banged, right? The crypto market got banged big time. It was like the first time Bitcoin ever became mainstream, and it ended disastrously. FTX, I mean, after like a year of getting dumped on, then FTX imploded and Sam Bankman-Fried and all of this stuff. Just the worst headlines. As I've said many times, SBF was the reason we went below previous all-time highs, in my opinion, the reason we went all the way down here. This actually right here, this giga candle is because of FTX. Bitcoin was holding, it actually did dip a little bit below 20,000 very briefly here, but then ultimately it took us to our ultimate low at 15K because of FTX back at the very end of 2022. And honestly, I think that this extra little banging right here, this little gigabang right here, and not necessarily even just the price banging, but the sentiment, the trust in the crypto space completely was shattered, blown to bits. And I think that this was the final knife in the back of a lot of crypto investors that honestly thought crypto was going to go a lot higher or change everything. I think this was the final straw that made some of those people just believe, you know what? I hate crypto. This is horrible. It's never going to go back up. I think truly a lot of people, or at least thought that we have to go much lower. And that's, again, another main reason why I believe so many people are sidelined. But ultimately, this is by far the biggest, the most hated rally that I've ever seen since I've been in crypto. People definitely are overwhelmingly, again, the biggest influencers of the past 2 years were bearish accounts posting the big squiggly lines going down to 3K, 5K, 10K. You look at the accounts with the most engagement, the most retweets, the most likes, the most followers, the content even on YouTube, stuff like that. It was the bearish crowd that absolutely was dominating for the past, even most of 2013 actually. And we know what happened in 2013. This was 2013 right here. Bitcoin just went up all of 2013. Yet the bearish people were still the ones getting the most engagement and the most followers and the most everything, even though the price was doing the exact opposite of what the bearish accounts were telling you. But every time we had this tiny pullback, the bearish accounts would get infinitely more followers and engagement on these little dips because they were saying, oh, this is the one that's going to, this is the big squiggly down. This is the big squiggly down. This is the big squiggly down. And it never was. So the point is, I still believe that at this point, there are still many people that are interested in having positions in crypto that are still sidelined. I think for the most part, most rational people now at least are understanding, hey, $10,000 per Bitcoin, maybe that's not going to happen. I think even the most bearish people are starting to accept that. But I don't necessarily think those people have gotten back into the market or they're as bullish as they should be based on what is happening right now. So with that, I think that's one of the biggest catalysts also of why I think we're going to be going higher, not to mention all of the institutional inflows. Let's actually take a look at a few things here before we continue with that. So BlackRock and Fidelity spot Bitcoin ETFs rank number 1 and number 2 in assets after the first 50 days of trading for ETFs. This is insane. IBIT, FBTC, and then a bunch of other stuff. There's even 2 other Bitcoin spot ETFs in blue you can see here, but you can see them completely dominating the ETF space completely, a total domination. We also see microcap Nilium Resource is up over 1,500% intraday, following a letter of intent to dilute equity to Infinite to buy about almost 25,000 Bitcoin, kind of maybe trying to copy the Saylor playbook. Are we going to see more companies follow suit with this? I think so. A lot of people also believe this is the case. We also actually just saw something massive. Gary Gensler, here we have Gary Gensler right here. He's been getting banged in the courts. He's losing lawsuit after lawsuit. This guy is very corrupt and he's a bad actor. He was actually, in cahoots with SBF, who SBF was the cancer of the space. In my opinion, I believe SBF, SBF, Elizabeth Warren, Gary Gensler are all kind of, I think they were trying to conspire with each other to ruin crypto from the inside, basically. And I think that's another reason Gary is so, I think he's a little butthurt because he didn't do his job. He was supposed to, Elizabeth Warren probably really wanted him to bang crypto. Elizabeth Warren, by the way, is what a horrible person. But anyway, CFTC is saying that Ethereum and Litecoin are commodities actually in this KuCoin lawsuit, which is big because we have the SEC saying that Ethereum is a security, but the CFTC is saying that it's not. And same thing for Litecoin. And so this is big because these are two bodies that, well, I don't personally think the SEC should have any jurisdiction over crypto, but they believe they do. And the CFTC absolutely has jurisdiction over commodities. And so this is another interesting thing. It's basically just another mini bang for Gary that could turn into a bigger bang. The guy just can't stop getting gigabanged, basically. And we also see the fun part of the cycle just beginning. In all previous cycles, when all entities were in profit, it was preceded by a face-melting parabolic rise. This time is not different. We look at this chart. You can see when this orange line gets above this level here, it's a maximum percent entities in profit. And we can see how long this period can last. And you can see when this begins, when it first enters this period, where price usually is and how much more it goes up. Same thing we saw here, first time it peaked in here a lot. Same thing here. The black line here is the price of Bitcoin. So you can see that rising as well. And so those are just very bullish signals for Bitcoin. I have a hard time. I mean, one of the main things I want to highlight about this video today is that in a very short amount of time, I simply can't tell you the exact day. Nobody can. But I think that in just maybe even 1 to 2 weeks from today, I think Bitcoin's going to be at 80, 85 plus thousand US dollars. Plus, right? Could be even higher than that. And we're going to be looking back and saying, holy cow, why did this just happen? Why are we up so much? And one of the main things I could point to is something like this, where it couldn't be more obvious. For the past 16 months, Bitcoin has been doing basically exactly what it does every bull cycle, where it ends up bottoming and slowly creeps up, and people don't believe it. And myself and other people have been saying like, hey, this is the beginning of, these are best accumulation. This is the beginning of a new bull market. And people didn't believe it the first 12 months. And one of the main arguments people were saying was like, it can't be that easy. It can't be that obvious. But the crazy thing is, it literally is that obvious. It can be that easy. And the exact same thing goes for right now. As we have just broken the all-time highs, just about 2 weeks ago, Bitcoin went to a new all-time high. We've been correcting for the past 2 weeks, right? Topped out right at the middle of March. Here we are 2 weeks later. Bitcoin's been correcting. Whether the correction is 100% over or not in the short term, I don't know. I truly, honestly don't even care, because whether or not we correct for another couple days or not, ultimately I think we're going much, much, much higher. Even on the short time frame, you can see the MACD is definitely about to, if we even continue where we are right now, we're going to get a bullish cross on the MACD. Short term, we're getting a bullish cross on the RSI. We're seeing this MACD converge to more bullish here. So again, I think that that's a very promising signal as well. And ultimately, this is just that moment where it's too easy. But it's crazy to me that there are still people that are just thinking it's not possible. I mean, there were people that are probably commenting right now saying that we're going down. Those are the same absolute fools, absolute dingbats that were saying Bitcoin wouldn't have a new all-time high until 2025 or some other garbage. Just absolute garbage. I saw some people even saying 2026. These people, what do they have in their brains? In their heads, because it's not a brain. What do they have in there? It's crazy to me. What are you doing? Stop eating microplastics or something. Just go to the doctor, get some help. But anyway, this is huge. I think it's gigantic where Bitcoin currently is. This is one of those moments where we could see, again, very short term. I honestly, and I'll admit this, I don't know exactly what we're going to do tomorrow. And as I said, I don't really care. I just know that based on all of the data we're seeing, fundamental and technical, but mostly fundamental, even though there's insanely strong technical data too. It's crazy because I'm competing to which is better, even though they're both amazing fundamental and technical setups we have here in terms of massive amounts of inflow, interests, the actual setups that are repeating and have been verified over and over, validated over and over for the past 16 months. It's insane. With all that being said, let's look at DXY is down, or it's up maybe the tiniest amount today. Stock market was up earlier. Now I think it's maybe down the tiniest amount. Doesn't really matter. Overall, this is insanely bullish. And I think we are right at that moment, which is quite literally, to me, this is quite literally the most exciting moment of this entire bull market. Because when we do this, you know, let's say we fast forward a couple, like maybe a year or a couple months, and Bitcoin's up at some crazy range up here. That's not going to be the most exciting time, right? Let's say I'm making a video when price is right in this range, over 100,000. That's not going to be exciting, because the chances of us having a pullback or the end of the bull market are much higher than they are now. The opportunity where we are right now is so much higher and so much bigger than it will be up here. And you know what? What's even crazier about that is I distinctly remember, and I was even saying this in videos back at this time. I was literally saying this like for months at a time. I was saying like, I was basically saying like, I'm ready for the bull market to be over, because we had already gone up so much. There was, I mean, so many unrealized gains in people's portfolios, so much euphoria. This is around when meme coins were like mainstream again, like news outlets were talking about meme coins, all this stuff. My opinion, I hated it, right? I didn't like that. But anyway, the point was, I remember I was exhausted. I was done with the bull market in this range. I remember just being like, yeah, I kind of wish it's over. And at least for me, that's one of my personal indicators of when I think the top is in. But that's not how I feel about this move at all. I think that we have obviously way more to go. And remember, back here, a lot of people didn't want to believe it. And parts of it I didn't want to believe either. A lot of those indicators that we look at right now to tell us where we are in the cycle, when we were in this range, a lot of them were telling us, hey, the cycle's over. The cycle is over. Those signals were flashing back here. They absolutely, not one of them is flashing here, because, I mean, it's obvious. I don't want to repeat myself for the 500th time, but the bull market is literally, I would say, maybe like 30% into the bull market. We are at least a whole year into it, really, after bottoming at the end of 2022. But yeah, this is truly, you know, it's not maximum opportunity. Maximum opportunity was back here, but this is still massive opportunity. And get signed up with BINGX or BINGX below if you want to buy Bitcoin or altcoins. And without further ado, it's for me.